as far as I know, there's no drugs anywhere, so I can't, you know, so there's not a criminal investigation. There's more a health or well-being check type thing.
Thank you.
What?
Yeah, I obviously have to document it, you know.
How would he know there's no drugs? He didn't search the car.
I know. Officer's doing his best to try to help this guy. All right, we've got Kelly back here. She's the only person in the firm that I can still convince to do these videos with me. And we're going to be reacting to a video from the Law and Crime Network, one of our favorites. They do a good job with these body-worn cameras. And we're going to react. You're going to see our reaction in real time. We have not seen this yet. We'll tell you the good. We'll tell you the bad. I'm certain that you will tell us the good and the bad in the comments as well. And we'll see what this is all about. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit from it too as you watch two lawyers react in real time. All right, there we go. Ready?
Yep.
Well, a rescue's gonna come check you out, man. I can't let you go. You were literally choking in your sleep. Somebody flagged me down about it.
Oh, I have sleep apnea. I'm sorry.
Well, and then you have a crack pipe in your hands.
A city councilman in Cranston, Rhode Island faces a drug charge after a police officer finds him sleeping in his car with a crack pipe in his hand. You can see Riley sleeping, his mouth wide open as the officer approaches. Riley has a lighter and a pipe in his hand. The officer rouses him from his sleep.
Do you have any weapons on you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, a lot of DUIs do start off this way with someone behind the wheel.
Right.
Asleep.
Usually, though, it's like alcohol or heroin. I thought, didn't crack like pump you up?
I thought that too, but I
I've
don't
never
know.
done it.
I'm not an expert on crack. Right.
Yeah.
You're right about that. But alcohol, obviously,
Right.
people pass out. Heroin for sure.
Definitely.
You know, whether it's an overdose or whatever. I've had this question before, like, from people, like, do the police have any right to come up? The answer to that is yes, right? If there's a call or they witness somebody who's asleep in the vehicle, especially if the car's in the middle of the road, yes.
Right.
Sure, there's a traffic violation, but even if the car is parked in a parking lot or on the side of the road, the police also have a
Community caretaking.
exactly community caretaking function, and they're allowed to check up on somebody who may be dead in a car for all they know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Yep.
Oh, no way, dude. Really?
Yes, yes. I was just on my way back from court.
Well, a rescue's gonna come check you out, man. I can't let you go. You were literally choking in your sleep. Somebody flagged me down about it.
Oh, I have sleep apnea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it seemed there that the officer just like realized that he was an attorney and then kind of like took a sigh like, ugh.
You're like, you're getting done this,
Yeah.
and I feel bad for
Right.
you. Right.
I
Yeah.
wish I didn't respond to this call.
Right. Exactly.
When like he realized he was somebody that he wished
Yeah.
he wasn't stopping.
He had
right
empathy.
now.
The officer has empathy for him,
Yeah.
right? He appeared to be a, professional, with, doing good for the community or whatever. I mean, there are high functioning addicts. There are obviously people who are addicts in recovery for, I can think of some cases where people were totally clean and sober for 15 years. And then for whatever reason, they go back to it and the whole life changes again, right? This guy's going to have some issues.
Yeah, a lot of times like a high stress job like an attorney or a politician or something can lead to people using like drugs and alcohol to cope with it. We have a whole lawyer's assistance program, and many times what they're dealing with is a drug and alcohol problem.
Yep.
Well, and then you have a crack pipe in your hands, so it's like,
Wait, sorry.
listen, I have a body camera. Obviously, everything
obviously.
I have is recorded. You know that, and what I've observed is on camera, so I can't pretend I didn't. So a rescue's gonna come here,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
they're gonna check you out. As far as I know, there's no drugs anywhere, so I can't. So there's not a criminal investigation. There's more a health or well-being check type thing.
Thank you.
What?
Yeah, I obviously have to document it.
How would he know there's no drugs? He didn't search the car.
I know. The officer's doing his best to try to help this guy.
Thank you. So will be no arrest?
What?
There will be no arrest?
No. Are there any drugs in the car or anything like that?
No, nothing.
All right.
The officer questions
What about
Riley
the drug paraphernalia and the lighter?
Right, and the fact
In
that
his
you're
hand.
asleep in the car.
Yeah.
He's in a parking lot, it looks like. So he's not in the middle of the road or something that, doesn't lessen the seriousness of it, but the circumstances are a little better, right? Than being in the middle of the road or the expressway, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But this officer's clearly doing everything he can for this guy, and I'm not sure he's. wouldn't normally go that way.
No.
I mean, we've seen plenty of cases where the
Yeah.
officers are much more aggressive and looking to make an arrest. Let's see if
Something changes here.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to. Maybe he's waiting for back. I mean, officer doesn't have to be truthful at this point. He can say, no, he can keep him complicit. He can keep him there. He can wait for backup to arrive, EMT to arrive, whatever. So the officer can lie at this point. And maybe he's doing it. Maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know.
About his drug use, he's forthcoming and discusses struggling with addiction.
How long have you had this problem, man?
It was a relapse. I've been clean for 13 years. Just went through a really, really bad divorce recently.
Okay.
EMTs arrive to check out Riley as the police officers search his vehicle, which is littered with trash and junk. The officer found a chore boy scouring pad in the glove box. Chore boy is made of copper and metal. Drug users sometimes use a chore boy to make a crack pipe. A second officer arrives. They approach the vehicle to test suspected drugs found in the car.
If you haven't seen our video on field testing, go watch that.
Please watch it.
Yep. So they're testing the paraphernalia. It doesn't sound like they found any substance, any suspected drugs, just the paraphernalia, right? Is that what you gathered?
Yeah, I'm wondering about the search, though. I mean, like, obviously he saw the paraphernalia in plain view, so I feel like that gives him the right to search the car.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was like, yeah, there's going to be no criminal charges.
Yeah.
But,
Again,
yeah.
I think he's allowed to
Right.
BS him. I mean,
Yeah,
essentially admitted to smoking crack and being behind the wheel.
he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know him at all? You guys don't know?
No, I've never met him in my life. Can probably dig out just a smaller little rock so we don't have
There
to
you go.
break anything.
If you can get a little bit with the
The powder?
Look at this. They're going to shake it.
$2 test.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. Be careful, because he was on the nod, or like, it seems like anyways.
It's mixed with something else, but
Officers are worried about touching the fentanyl.
Do you know anything about fentanyl?
From our cases, yeah.
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 I mean, I know that, like, a tiny bit could kill you, and it seems like it's an epidemic these days, but I didn't know if just touching it could have some sort of effect on you.
Yeah, there's certainly examples, and yes, just touching it and ingesting it through your skin can have an adverse effect. I'm going to get roasted for this because I don't have any firsthand knowledge, but I've seen a lot of things where it's overly scary. It's made to be overly scary, right? Most people are not going to die by accidentally touching it with skin, right? But, whatever. I don't want to mess with it. I would take the precaution. So I'm not blaming anyone. I just think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Dangerous substance
Yeah.
for sure. We've seen some very terrible things, overdoses and death, namely, that occur from ingesting. I mean, we're no stranger to having clients overdose and pass away.
Yeah, this roadside drug test, though, is interesting. Like we talked about in the other video, they're super cheap, and now they're like on the hood of this guy's car.
Right.
It's like dirt, other contaminants. Whereas, like, if you think about like a lab, it's like super sterile, super clean. They wear like suits
Sure.
and gloves, and only people can go in and out and stuff. Like they're just on the side of the road, like.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and he'll be arrested based off of the result of this $2 test.
Right.
I mean, I think even if the test came back, they probably have some things they could arrest him for, but that the result of this test is a big deal as in terms of what happens next.
yeah, let me use that.
Be careful with that stuff. I don't know if that's fentanyl laced or not. There's white all over there. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I was just telling him the same thing, because, I mean, you don't fall asleep usually from completely, it's not an opiate
Yeah.
usually.
This
It's
is
pure.
enough.
He claims he was tired and he may have sleep apnea, but I don't think that's gonna.
Especially like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, only climbed a lot, too. It's like, you stick out like a sore thumb.
Well,
Right away.
fentanyl.
Coke.
Yeah.
Crack. Pop for crack. I can test it for fentanyl too.
Test it for both, just to make
All right.
sure that I don't know what we're dealing with.
Well, can you just snap a picture of that?
Especially if
Yeah.
we're gonna put him in a cell. Get a watch.
The sergeant on scene tells the officers to charge Riley. Then they look at a white powder on his driver's seat.
wants to have his mother come get the car, but I'm not gonna.
I wouldn't have.
No, not getting there, touching all that white powder. Is that's a piece
That
of
could be a
crack?
big piece of
Yeah,
crack.
yeah, that's definitely crack.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, you can smell it, and he's burning up.
He has a bunch of toy boy and.
Should we have it towed?
It looks like he's like half living out of his car.
Not
There's
some
like
private property.
toiletries.
We're good. We're on private property.
You're just gonna leave the car.
And this-
Yeah, that's a mistake. I mean, they should tow the car and conduct an inventory search. I mean, to protect them, right? To cover their own selves. Like, they haven't conducted a full search of the vehicle. You don't know what else could be in there. It could be other drugs. It could be a gun. Also, if you're going to leave the car on the side of the road with the crack on there, what if somebody else
Right,
sees that and, like,
exactly.
breaks in and
Yeah.
scrapes it up?
He's getting a benefit there that most people don't get. Most people, if they're arrested in a vehicle, their car is getting towed. They're trying to cut this guy a break, and I'm not sure it's really warranted.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I feel for the guy, right? He's
If he has a drug problem. But that's the other thing, too. I mean, okay, say he bonds out, right? Tomorrow, and then he goes to his car, and then there's like crack in his seat, and he's just going to use again.
It's a really good point. Yeah, exactly. A lot of this stuff can be based off of weight too, right? Here in Chicago, a big city, it's happens a lot where a very small amount, personal use of even a hard drug like this, can get dismissed at a preliminary hearing. But the more weight, the more likely those charges are to stick. So they could, and a lot of our clients don't get the benefit of the doubt that this guy's getting, where they're going to collect that, inventory that, and that's going to get weighed as well. I don't want to say they're going too far, the police are going too far overboard with cutting a break, because I think this guy's getting arrested and getting some felony charges, but they're definitely, sort of going around the edges where they can, not towing the vehicle, not adding that weight, stuff like that.
I agree.
Okay.
First officer on scene also removed a crack pipe from Riley's vehicle. Riley appears to be okay after leaving EMTs and talking to the officer.
Yeah, I know. It's not like I have an option here, man. Sorry.
No, you got anything on you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
You don't see this
Making
guy you
statements.
buy it from? I don't usually buy it off anybody. They're not all honest people.
He doesn't buy it off anybody.
Yeah.
How are you buying it?
Right. These are all.
So you're going to the crack dispensary down
Right.
the street, like.
I mean, these are all statements made after arrest, right? He's in handcuffs.
He is being questioned.
He's being
Yeah.
questioned. I didn't hear Miranda. I don't think he's going to win this case as a
No,
result of it. But
yeah.
if you want to get technical, that's what's happening here,
Right.
right?
I don't see how that saves him from a possession charge, though, which is all he's looking at right now, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
DUI?
for sure.
Yeah.
But for the police standpoint, a lot of times, they're trying to get the bigger fish, like the dealer. So I would say that that's the officer's motivation.
Yes.
But
Yep, exactly. In Illinois, you do not have to be driving. You simply need to be in actual physical control of the car, which this would almost certainly qualify. He's in the car. Doesn't even matter really if it was running or not. He was in the driver's seat, and at any moment he could have turned that car on and driven away. That's almost certainly going to be considered to be actual physical control of the vehicle. You do not have to be under the influence of alcohol, which is what most people think. It can be alcohol. It can be hard, illegal, illicit drugs like this. It can be prescription drugs. It can even be, any substance like, huffing paint thinner, right, to get high. It can be anything that puts you under the influence.
yeah, I wonder too if they're actually investigating him for a DUI, in which case they'd need to ask him to submit to blood or urine, because it doesn't sound like they have any belief that he's under the influence of alcohol.
Right.
But yeah, it kind of seems like they're just sticking with the possession right now.
Yep. And at least here in Illinois, just having that illegal drug in your system and being in control of the car is the DUI. They don't-
Right. I think too that if he wasn't a councilman, that he would be looking at all of these charges. But like we've been saying, it sounds like these officers are trying to cut him a break.
Yep. And we'll see. Maybe they'll give us a wrap up here at the end.
What's that, a $50 piece?
100.
100?
Yeah,
So,
I just got back into this.
this is gonna, listen, this is terrible situation. We're all in a tough spot, but we gotta do what we gotta do right by the numbers. It'll help you in the end. Believe me when I tell you. And you'll say to us a month from now, best thing that ever happened to me. That's what they all tell us. 'Cause you can't go down this road anymore.
No.
God forbid we find you dead. That would That's terrible. You gotta get on a program right away.
No,
I mean, I look at you. You're not the Matt Riley that we know. Trust me. And
You do know.
listen. Your health and your well-being is worth way more than any political career.
Riley then expresses his concern about the media finding out about his arrest.
We don't report nothing to the media unless someone tells them. So, and then arrest records are public record. I'm not gonna lie to you. Much we can do on this. If I was in your situation, I'd be in handcuffs.
No, I'm not saying.
You know?
I'm not saying don't arrest me.
Yeah.
In terms of media for kids, as much as
Yeah, no. Listen, we are only required.
He said he just went through a divorce too, so he's probably thinking to himself, like, his visitation, parenting time schedule, is that going to be affected by this arrest?
And the answer is,
I mean, his wife would have to file like a petition to
Yes.
modify the parenting time, but I think that if she did do that, her attorney could subpoena this discovery.
yep.
And if a judge saw this, I think absolutely they would have major concerns about him having unsupervised parenting time, probably until he got like help and could show a period of sobriety.
Yep. I guess the only thing that rubs me the wrong way a little bit is that there's plenty of people in this same situation, divorce, financial problems, whatever, addicts who relapse and, they're not getting treated. They don't get treated quite as well as the officers are treating him here.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Why?
he's
'Cause-
avoiding the tow of his vehicle. He's avoiding a DUI, probably a drug paraphernalia charge. I mean,
Yep.
we're guessing, but it looks right now like just a possession.
Yeah.
We have to release an arrest record by law. All right, jump in before you. We just want to make sure we gotta monitor you because you've taken
Just,
in
I'm gonna pat you down again, all right?
You've taken in some fentanyl, Matt, and that's. I mean, you're not gonna be there all day. You'll be in and out.
I'm gonna keep your wallet with me. I have your phone already.
It's another thing.
Want me to throw this stuff in the car real quick? Sure. All right.
I mean, typically anybody that would get charged with possession of crack is going to be charged with a felony here in the state of Illinois, in which case they would have to go in front of the judge for a bond hearing. The officers just couldn't release them on a bond that they choose.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't joking. I have an appointment on the 17th.
All right. I'll crack a window for you in a second.
Matthew Riley faces a drug possession charge. He's resigned from his position as chairman of Cranston's Republican Party, and he's in rehab. The mayor of the city has urged him to step down from city council, and he's done so publicly. Riley will be back in court next month.
I mean, was he charged with a felony?
I don't know. They said one count of possession of drugs, right? That's what
Yeah.
she just said. So, I mean, here in the state of Illinois, it would definitely be a felony, depending on the weight, would depend upon the severity of the class of the felony, which you wouldn't know until you got the lab report back.
Yep.
But we obviously don't know in this state.
Yeah, they could have charged him with more. I talked all about the DUI. The fact that it was on private property, at least here in Illinois, doesn't matter. He could have gotten a DUI. The possession, certainly.
Drug paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he has children, the parenting time
Yeah.
schedule with his children could be affected. So
Yep.
there was a ton of consequences. And obviously we're watching this, so it was made available to the public. So I'm sure his credibility and reputation in the community were affected as well. But as that officer was saying, I do hope that maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to him and he is clean,
Yep.
and can change his life around. So
Learn from it and you can get sober and remain sober. So
yeah, and we encourage it. I mean, it's great for them as individuals. It also helps us in negotiating, with the prosecutor. And we've had it where somebody gets a DUI and either they or a family member calls us and like they're inpatient for 30 days. And we're like, we'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it. We'll file the documents, If you could get us proof, we'll send it to the prosecutor. We'll tell the court,
Yep.
they're not going to issue a warrant for your arrest.
Yep.
And, you guys can focus on their sobriety while we focus on the case until
Yep.
they can assist us.
Yep, people make the comment, oh, you're a DUI lawyer, you just help people get off and go get more DUIs, right? Like, I get it why people say that,
Yeah.
but couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, the reality is you and I have recommended to people that they go get treatment, whether that's inpatient or AA or whatever, they go get some sort of a treatment to deal with their issues more than most people
Like literally
have.
every single day of my life
Right.
do I recommend that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to pat ourselves on the back. That's the reality of somebody we work we deal very closely with people who have some very
Right.
serious life issues.
Exactly, especially if somebody has multiple DUIs. Like I think we've talked about before, you can understand if, maybe you thought you were okay to drive and it turns out you weren't, and thank God nobody got hurt, right? That's more understandable than somebody with 2, 3, 4, 5
Yes.
DUIs. But people in that circumstance typically have a problem.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And the court, will take that into consideration when they do get the treatment. So, all right. So let's do our grades. How did the police do in this?
I'm going to give them a C. I mean, I empathize with the position that they're in, and I wouldn't want to be in their position choosing between, like a politician and their job. But, they do take an oath. They do have a job to do. I don't think anybody should be treated differently because of their position. We talked at length about all the things they didn't do. He was only charged with one thing. He could have been charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, DUI at the minimum. Could have towed the car, should have towed the car probably, done an inventory search, etc. For those reasons, I would give a C.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's hard because I'm empathetic for this guy too. And I think like the police were, because, his life just got upended, right? My problem is all the people that are in a similar situation and don't get the breaks that he got, right? Why does he deserve it and they don't? Because he's a councilman, because he's a lawyer, I don't know. I disagree with that. But yeah, I'd say middle of the road grade on that. And so then how do you feel about him? I mean, what could he have done differently? What do you think overall for the defendant?
Yeah, I mean, I would give him a C too, just kind of like stupid, right? Like just smoking a crack pipe in the middle of a empty parking lot. In the middle of the day. Obviously, that has a lot to do with his drug addiction, but he's got the crack pipe right in his hand, so they have him dead to rights. At first he says, oh, no, there's no drugs in the car, but you would think as an attorney, exactly what's coming next. Yeah, I mean, the crack all over the seat as well. I think that maybe he thought he was getting out of it, but at the same time, like he wasn't belligerent or rude. So,
yeah, I mean, this is almost an impossible grade to give. As a defendant in a criminal case, I mean, he gets an F. He shouldn't have put himself in that position. He's not going to win that case. He makes some admissions. But at the same time, you feel for him, right? It's hard to blame and hard to come down on an addict, right?
Yeah, I think too, like we're kind of judging him as being an attorney, like making statements, making admissions, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like he just smoked crack that may or may not have been laced with fentanyl. His brain might have not been firing on all cylinders.
Totally right. Yeah, and he's obviously got some personal issues to deal with, and I'm not trying to judge him or come down on him on that. So it's almost an impossible grade to give. I'm going to stick where you did with a C because in these tough situations, you just hope that you can't really undo what happened here. All you can do is hopefully he recovers and does better for himself in the future.
Yeah.
All right, guys, there you go. That's our reaction in real time. You can see there's a couple different emotions at play there. The lawyer brain in us telling him what he should and shouldn't do, but also just the empathetic side, because totally understand, everyone watching this, I think, realizes that he's in a tough spot, put himself in a tough spot, but you hope he can get through it. And that's really the lesson here, is that if you or someone has an issue or an addiction like this, nothing good comes out of it. You got to do everything you can to help yourself or help them get the treatment you need and get through it. So I hope that's what happens here for this defendant, and thanks for watching.